CTV News with Angela Mackenzie.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. With the beautiful weather, Montreal's public markets were swarming with people today. It's the biggest weekend of the season for florists and garden centers. But soaring fuel costs are taking a big bite out of their profits. Matt Gilmore reports.
Tomorrow's Mother's Day, and the flower centers at Jean Talon Market are buzzing with activity.
Every Mother's Day, this is our tradition. We buy all the plants for my garden.
After a long winter and chilly start to spring, Luigi Bono from Jardin Chez Michel is hoping this weekend will kickstart his season.
I think it's very important for everyone to do their garden. It keeps the heart in a well-being.
But rising costs are making him worried.
Seed prices, fertilizer prices, shipping prices have gone up a lot. We also use machinery, so oil fuel and diesel.
Like many other small businesses in Quebec, Bono has decided not to pass the costs along to his customers.
We're fighting against giants. Walmart, Costco, all those big corporations are selling flowers, so we got to adapt and we got to take the hit.
The resilience of small businesses is not something that can last forever.
Business groups say fuel costs are now a major concern for more than half of small businesses. 2/3 say they have no choice but to absorb the costs.
The smaller the businesses is, the harder the hit will be.
Across town at the Atwater Market, it's a similar story.
For sure, we need to adjust the price in the consequence. Customers are not always happy about it. Some understand it, some don't understand. For sure, it has an impact on the sales.
Mathieu Letourneau says fuel prices are one thing, but his biggest cost is renting this kiosk. He's asking the city for relief.
I sell my broccoli $7, cauliflower $9. Some people cannot afford that.
The high costs aren't just affecting farmers. Some hobby gardeners are also questioning whether it's worth it this year.
Fertilizer, earth, seeding, plants, it comes out to a good $500 easy and up.
Bono has this simple message.
Don't be afraid because we haven't raised our prices and it's important people keep doing what makes them feel well.
Matt Gilmore, CTV News.
Quebec Solidaire is floating a bold idea to tackle the rising cost of food. At its party congress this weekend, members are debating a plan for publicly funded grocery stores. Laurence Brisson-Dubreuil reports.
As grocery prices keep climbing, Quebec Solidaire says it wants to shake up who controls the food market. Alejandra Zaga Mendez says the current system just isn't cutting it.
It's 80% of the distribution and the sales are among the hands of the grocery giants, and they are doing it for profit.
One of the party's biggest proposals, a network of non-profit public grocery stores. Solidarity says buying in bulk and selling wholesale would allow people to access healthy local food without being squeezed at the checkout.
It's really important because right now people are starving, they are spending so much money, they are getting more debts because they have to pay for the price of the grocery that keeps going up.
The party also wants to cap large grocery chains' profit margins at 2% and ban practices like shrinkflation and what it calls false promotions. The idea takes inspiration from New York City's mayor, who has promised to open a public grocery store in each borough. For some shoppers here, the idea of a public option sounds like a relief.
The big chains are the ones screwing me up right now. Those are the places I shop at right now, and those are the ones I don't find affordable.
As students, it's definitely something I feel like we would all be leaning into.
Les particuliers, peut-être qu'ils vont tricher.
She says big grocery chains are more likely to cut corners or mislead customers. Also on the agenda this weekend, wealth distribution through progressive taxation.
The people that are very, very rich in Quebec, they should contribute more so that we have effective public services and we can save the planet and do everything that is really, really helpful for everybody.
Quebec Solidaire members are debating a range of proposals on affordability, housing, education, and the environment as the party starts building its platform ahead of next year's general election. Laurence Brisson-Dubreuil, CTV News.
We'll have more on the idea of government-run grocery stores and why some economists think it's a bad idea later in the program. Well, 2 women are recovering after being shot last night in a bar. The attack happened at around 3 this morning inside Club École Privée on Saint Laurent near Milton. The women were both hit in the lower body, and police say the injuries did not put their lives at risk. The suspect is described as a very tall man wearing dark clothing. 7 more people from the Montreal area have been arrested for their alleged roles in a multi-million-dollar grandparent scam. The Quebecers are facing charges in the U.S. of defrauding elderly victims in Vermont and more than 40 other states. Well, the pilot project for digital medical records officially launched this morning in Montreal North and the Mauricie. Officials say there were very few bugs when it went online at 4 a.m., although some people had problems with connection and access. The system, called the DSN, is meant to replace faxes, paper forms, and manual scanning, but it's come under criticism from opposition parties and healthcare professionals because of the potential of cost overruns. Well, Canada's census is underway, and every household in the country has to take part. Conducted every 5 years, the census counts the population so governments can figure out what services are needed where. This year features new questions on health, sexual orientation, and homelessness.
Health, of course, rising topic, always relevant, and these data will allow, for example, public health agencies around the country to really narrow down and look at health status by community. Now, 2S LGBTQ2+ communities will be pleased to know that sexual orientation has been added to the question, because that was actually the #1 requested addition to the census in 2026. And like I said, we have questions on homelessness. Now, it might seem strange, so we're going door to door. We're asking people to complete their censuses of, using letters that are delivered to homes. So what this is not measuring homelessness of the most extreme type in the moment. What this is measurement of experience with homelessness of people currently living in that dwelling over the previous years.
The deadline to submit census data is Tuesday, May 12th. Well, world leaders are in Toronto for the Global Progress Action Summit. Industry Minister Mélanie Joly promoted Canada's plan to deal with U.S. tariffs by cooperating with other countries.
Well, we have an issue. If we're all affected by the 232 tariffs, the EU came up with a new initiative to protect basic foreign steel to enter the EU. And we're negotiating to be able to have an exception and to be able to export our steel there.
Prime Minister Mark Carney delivered the closing speech. He talked about the actions Canada is taking on both the domestic and international stage to address ongoing issues.
We're looking to double the pace of affordable housing construction using factory technologies familiar to many of you from Europe, using, of course, Canadian lumber and Canadian workers, cut building times in half, reduce costs, and reduce embedded and operating emissions each by 20%.
The National Transportation Safety Board is investigating another deadly incident at an airport in the United States. A plane that was about to take off struck and killed a person who was walking on the runway. Jacqueline Lee explains.
Everybody move away from the aircraft. Frightening moments on a Frontier Airlines flight.
Everybody get away from the aircraft.
The engine itself is like on fire, spinning.
People were yelling, fire, fire.
Frontier Flight 4345 was accelerating for takeoff at Denver International, speeding down the runway at almost 150 miles per hour when pilots sounded the alarm.
South Frontier 4345, we're stopping on the runway. There was an individual walking across the runway.
Officials say a person they describe as trespassing scaled an airport fence and 2 minutes later was struck and killed.
We just hit somebody. We have an engine fire.
An official telling ABC News the person was at least partially consumed by one of the engines, triggering an engine fire.
I look to the right, I see the wing is on fire and it's sparking.
Smoke was in the air. Some people were getting agitated.
Everyone just couldn't breathe. I had to cover my mouth. I covered my eyes a bit because the smoke was just coming in.
The 224 passengers and 7 crew members on board forced to evacuate down emergency slides. Airport officials say 12 people were injured. 5 went to the hospital. Passengers and crew loaded onto buses.
231 people.
Most passengers were put on different flights and made it to their original destination, Los Angeles. Jacqueline Lee, ABC News, Los Angeles.
The cruise ship contending with an outbreak of hantavirus is expected to anchor in the Canary Islands in the next 24 hours. As Maggie Rulli reports, the World Health Organization is taking steps to reassure people that this disease is not the next COVID epidemic.
Right here, this is where the cruise ship is expected to not dock. It's never going to dock here in the Canary Islands, but it will be just offshore. Right now, we're standing at the port here in Tenerife, and this is the first piece of land that all the passengers on that cruise ship will touch after being on the cruise ship for weeks. We understand that the passengers on board are going to be ferried off in small groups of 5. They'll then be taken to the port here where they'll be processed. Everyone will be boarded onto military-guarded buses. All of them will be in hazmat suits, and then they'll be taken to an isolated portion of the airport where they'll finally then fly on to their home countries. Now, we do understand those repatriation flights could start landing as soon as tonight, including the one for the 18 Americans on board that ship. Now, we know the CDC has confirmed they will be here to meet and escort the Americans back to the States, where they'll then be taken to the National Quarantine Unit in Omaha, Nebraska. And if that sounds familiar, that place, it's because it's the exact same place people were taken during the early days of the COVID-19 outbreak. Now, we did just have the chance to speak with a doctor on board the ship, an American oncologist from New York, who, when the ship's original lead doctor fell sick and was later diagnosed with hantavirus, it was Dr. Kornfeld, the American doctor, who stepped in to become the ship's de facto lead doctor. And he describes what he's been through as just this intense, surreal week that is only now starting to process. People were falling ill. They didn't know they had hantavirus on board this ship. He didn't know he was leading the response to a medical crisis until much later. Now, he says everyone is ready for the relief of being back on American soil. He knows there's a long quarantine process ahead, but everyone on the ship anyway is not showing any signs currently of hantavirus, and they feel as if they're starting to be over the hump and the end is in sight. Maggie Rulli, ABC News, Tenerife, Canary Islands.
The U.S. and Iran traded fire in the Persian Gulf today as the two sides appear no closer to ending their war. Fighting is ongoing in and around the Strait of Hormuz, although the damage appears to be minor, while Washington is waiting for Tehran's response to a proposal that would formally end the war before launching talks on Iran's nuclear program. Meanwhile, the island nation of Bahrain says it has arrested 41 people linked to Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. The United States has a fleet that uses Bahrain as a military base. Emergency crews say women and children in southern Lebanon were killed by an Israeli airstrike. Residents say they had already fled towns closer to the border in search of safety. Well, a new Nanos poll this week shows almost 70% of Canadians don't think the armed forces should join the war in the Middle East, but Canadians do support a diplomatic role if needed to maintain stability.
I don't think Canadians see kind of a long-term plan for how stability will be brought to the region, even if the military hostilities cease.
Taking a look at the weather now, it's currently 18 degrees in Montreal with scattered showers possible in the evening. Tomorrow we'll see a mix of sun and cloud throughout the day with a high of 15 degrees expected. And the week ahead will start out with that sun and cloud mix once again. Rain in the forecast Wednesday and Thursday, and temperatures could hit above 20 degrees next weekend. Still to come, why park officials are reminding tourists of the dangers behind the beautiful wilderness. And making way for political change in Hungary. Turning to a tragic story in Ottawa where a 2-year-old has died after drowning in the Ottawa River. The toddler was reported missing at 7 p.m. last night from the western part of the city. A large search was immediately launched involving drones, an airplane, and at least 4 boats. The toddler was spotted in the water about 40 minutes later, then brought to hospital where their death was confirmed. Ottawa's homicide unit, along with its child abuse unit, are investigating. Well, Toronto police have arrested a teenager after what they are calling a pair of hate-motivated assaults.
These incidents are deeply concerning, particularly because the victims were visibly identifiable members of our Jewish community. Early this morning, approximately 8 hours after the second incident occurred, search warrants were executed as a residence and a vehicle in Vaughan. An 18-year-old man has been arrested and charged with various weapons offenses. Evidence was also seized, including 2 gel blaster imitation firearms.
Investigators say 3 people were standing outside a synagogue when shots were fired from a moving vehicle. 1 person was hit and suffered minor injuries. Police say the accused is also charged in a similar incident that took place in April. Nearly 4 years to the day after 2 seniors were found dead in their BC home, a judge has convicted 3 men in the chilling home invasion murders that left a community shaken. Michelle Brunoro has more on a story that some viewers may find disturbing.
Outside the courthouse, the daughters of murder victims Arnold and Joanne DeYoung stand alongside flowers and photos, a tribute to the parents they lost.
They had so many things about them that were so special to us that we miss every day.
Inside court, the family would soon learn the verdict for 3 men accused of killing the elderly couple in May of 2022.
This week's been a little excruciating. I don't think any of us have slept well.
A judge saying that Abhijit Singh, Kushveer Toor and Gurkaran Singh are all guilty of first-degree murder, the ruling a huge relief for the DeYoung family.
Like my heart was going to come out of my chest. I think there was joy in that, knowing that the judge saw this for what it was.
The couple, who were grandparents in their 70s, were found dead in their home on May 9th, 2022. They had been tied up with rope. Arnold's head had been wrapped in duct tape and Joanne's throat had been slashed.
The judge rejected defense claims that it was a robbery gone wrong, instead saying she was satisfied that the murders were carefully planned and executed.
The judge saying the DeYoungs were killed to eliminate them as witnesses and pointed to DNA evidence as well as fingerprints of one of the accused. Crown argued the motivation was financial pressure and greed.
We have this first-degree conviction for all 3 suspects on both accounts, but yet we still grieve.
Abhijit Singh had an exterior home cleaning business, and he and Toor had done work at the DeYoungs' home the month before the killings. Court had heard that both Gurkaran Singh and Toor had come to Canada on student visas. The family, meanwhile, is grateful for the support they have received, but this day is bittersweet.
4 years ago today, we spent the last time with my parents.
They had so many things about them that were so special to us that we miss every day.
Sentencing is set for May 28th. Michelle Brunoro, CTV News, Abbotsford.
It's been an aggressive spring for bears in the western U.S. This week, there have been attacks, both times at national parks. Morgan Chesky reports.
Tonight, multiple trails closed in Montana's Glacier National Park. Signs warning of bear danger after what authorities suspect was a fatal bear attack. Park officials sharing they found a hiker's body Wednesday in a densely wooded area about 50 feet off the popular Mount Brown Trail. The park is home to roughly 1,000 bears, with an estimated 300 of those being grizzlies. Just days ago in Yellowstone National Park, a bear attack left 2 hikers badly mauled.
Definitely bear. Its claws.
Park officials say the attack happened on a trail not far from the iconic Old Faithful geyser. And last month, this video capturing a black bear in Southern California. Charging a hiker, no one was hurt. Wildlife biologist Jeff Corwin says this time of year can pose additional risk when crossing paths with a bear.
They're very afraid of other bears, and you don't want to fall prey to being a victim of misidentification.
Now, tonight, it's still unknown what kind of bear may have attacked at Glacier, but wildlife officials say that they are scouring that area for any animal activity.
A criminal investigation is underway in Hawaii after a man was captured on video throwing a rock towards an endangered seal. Mahealani Richardson has more.
What are you doing?
The incident of a man throwing a rock toward an endangered Hawaiian monk seal happened Tuesday off Front Street in Lahaina. It's illegal to harm, harass, or touch an endangered animal under federal and state laws.
By now, we've all heard about the disturbing incident involving our beloved friend, Lani, the Hawaiian monk seal in Lahaina.
Maui County Mayor Richard Bisson told Hawaii News Now Lani has a federal tracker and has been known by the community for about 7 years.
Of course, there was outrage because she's helpless and she's doing what she does. Ever since those pylons were removed at that part of Front Street, She has returned to sunbathe.
State Land Police spoke with a visitor and then turned the case over to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, which has taken the lead on the case. Bisson says he wants to make sure the man is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and he's spoken with federal and county prosecutors.
I've spoken to Ken Sorensen, who's the United States Attorney. Ken and I have known each other for a very long time because of what I used to do before I was mayor. And I know he's made this a priority.
U.S. Senator Brian Schatz wrote a letter to NOAA saying he's championed annual funding of roughly $4.5 million for monk seal science and management. He wants the agency to do even more to educate the public.
It's just disgusting. But, you know, we've done a really good job of educating people about protecting our marine mammals, turtles, seals, other animals, but it just shows that we have a lot more work to do.
Bisson said a violation can be a misdemeanor under federal law with up to a year in prison or a felony under state law with up to 5 years. As for Lunny, Bisson says she's been seen since the incident. NOAA says it can't say if she was harmed since the investigation is ongoing.
Ukrainians fighting a wildfire saved a moose calf from Chernobyl's exclusion zone. Authorities say a large forest fire was burning through the zone Friday after a drone crashed near the nuclear plant earlier in the week. The site surrounding Chernobyl nuclear plant has been largely deserted since 1986, when the plant suffered a catastrophic meltdown. Well, Russia held a scaled-down Victory in Europe parade today in Moscow. Russian President Vladimir Putin told soldiers and foreign leaders that he was confident his country would defeat Ukraine despite his invasion being in its 5th year. But for the first time in nearly 2 decades, the parade took place without tanks, missiles, and other heavy weapons. Officials also said security had been increased because of the threat of Ukrainian attack. Hungary's new government took their oaths of office today.
A magyar demokrácia és alkotmányosság házában. Én nem uralkodom.
Prime Minister Peter Magyar pledged to restore democratic institutions and root out corruption. His center-right party won a landslide election, knocking out Viktor Orban's regime after 16 years by winning more votes and more seats in parliament than any party since Hungary split away from the USSR. Final exams for university and college students in Canada, Australia, and the U.S. have been thrown into disarray. And that's because 9,000 schools rely on a course management system called Canvas that's been hit by a cyber attack. Morgan Norwood has more.
Millions of students and teachers across the country recovering from a digital nightmare right before finals week. A massive cyber attack shutting down the online learning platform Canvas, used by more than 8,000 K-12 schools and colleges to post assignments, check grades, and communicate with students and parents.
It's kind of scary to think about how close we are to the finish line, really, and having to worry about our information getting leaked, about our classes being delayed.
The breach targeting thousands of schools nationwide, including Harvard, UPenn, and University of Maryland. Hackers claim they stole the personal data of more than 275 million users, names, emails, student IDs, along with private messages between students and instructors. This ransom note popping up from the hacking group Shiny Hunters, warning their schools to negotiate a settlement. You have till the end of the day by May 12th, 2026, before everything is leaked.
I got a warning sign. My computer turned black, and it said, "Warning, because your institution refused to pay the ransom, we will release the information."
Canvas first reported an unauthorized user on April 29th. Hackers targeting the platform's free for teacher account. And with finals just underway, some students worried about more than just their grades.
We're just trying to push through our last weeks of school. You know, everyone's already so stressed, and this just added so much more to it.
When we return, the woman behind so much of the entertainment we know and love in Montreal. And what's been found so far in the Pentagon's UFO files. As we heard earlier, Quebec Solidaire is debating the idea of publicly run grocery stores as a solution to rising food prices. It's an idea Toronto and the leader of the NDP have floated about, and the mayor of New York City has promised one in every borough. Joining me now is Gabriel Giguère with the Montreal Economic Institute. Nice to see you, Gabriel.
Hi, it's a pleasure.
So first, what exactly are public grocery stores?
Well, basically, we could see the state subsidizing heavily one grocery. It can also be public servant that work in the grocery store. So we'll see how form it will be in the proposition. But what we can see is something that could be very costly for taxpayer, because you need to subsidize it. And there is the pretension where the public grocery stores can do as good as the private groceries, which might be difficult because the reality is that that market is living basically through very, very thin margin. We're talking about 3 to 5%. And so it might be very difficult, and we'll see.
Why do you think they're having such a moment right now?
The reality right now is that with the mayor of New York City, Mamdani, the mayor pushed this idea in the public sphere, and he basically decided to go forward with 5 public grocery stores. Now we see a momentum with Toronto, so it's currently at the municipal level. As you said, the new chief of the New Democratic Party talked about it, but it's still not in the it's not shared by public party in power, political party in power. So we'll see how it goes. But what we need to understand is that a lot of saving is floating in the political commentary. We're seeing that they are floating a possibility of reducing groceries bill by 30 to 40%, which is at best creative accounting, basically, because as we said, it's only 3 to 5% of margin. And public groceries don't live into the same economic mechanism or incentive, because if the consumer doesn't want to buy product on the public grocery shelves, well, it's not necessarily a problem for that groceries, because they can take your money as a taxpayer, not only as a consumer. So it's problematic, because if it's not working, which might be the case, to be honest, because there is also international example that hasn't worked. Kansas City market is a very, very good example, because what we saw is that in a couple of years, it cost $29 million in taxpayers' money, and they were not able to offer perishable goods because of the complex logistic. It didn't work, and so we know it's very complex as a market, and the state might not be able to do so, specifically when we're looking into some bad management, such as Canada Post.
Do you think that a lot of people are maybe making some assumptions about why our grocery prices are so high? Because it does seem to be like the conversation seems to always go back to the retailers themselves, those big corporations. Is it corporate greed, or are there other things at play in your view?
That's the big question, and I do believe it's not corporate greed. As we just said, margins are very thin, 3 to 5%. And so the reality is that there is policy that affect the price. We can think about the carbon tax. We can also think about tariffs. So we usually think about Donald Trump when we're talking about tariff, but if we look into the World Trade Organization about Canada, what we're looking at is that Canada is imposing on average 15% tariffs for agricultural importation. There's also trade barrier regarding interprovincial trade, notably about agriculture and food. And there is also one thing that is kind of sacred in Canada, which shouldn't be, which is the supply management policy, where milk, egg, chicken, turkey is more expensive than the market. And so it costs a lot of money for Canadians, and the government is able to have a role in reducing those prices. But the reality is that it won't come from the public groceries.
We only have about 30 seconds, but what are a few policies that you feel may be more effective in solving the affordability issues we're seeing?
I think the government should definitely start by abolishing those tariffs on agricultural importation, but they also need to abolish supply management. It's not only problematic for our trade relation. We can think about the UK, New Zealand, but also United States, where it was a big problem. But this will save hundreds of dollars for Canadian families, so government can play a role. It won't be through public groceries.
All right, Gabrielle Giguère, thank you so much for taking the time.
It's a pleasure.
You may not know her, but you've likely seen her work. Lisa Lee is a Montreal public relations exec who's worked on everything from Osheaga to Just for Laughs and Disney on Ice, and that's not all. This Asian Heritage Month, Rachel Lau sits down with Lisa to talk about her decades-long career.
From Britney to the Backstreet Boys and even Aerosmith, she's the powerhouse behind some of Montreal's biggest events. I see Megadeth and Celine.
Yeah. Celine was amazing because we worked a lot with her.
The Concordia grad got her start in 1987 with record promoter Donald K. Donald.
The Moscow Circus was going on tour.
Eventually leaving to work at Just for Laughs before opening her own firm. Now she does promotions for massive festivals like Osheaga and Lasso Montreal, as well as local PR for shows and concerts like Elton John, Rod Stewart, Iron Maiden, and Green Day.
They were little troublemakers. They'd run around backstage on, I think, scooters or something, and they would just annoy our production manager.
Not only does she spend her days rubbing shoulders with some of the world's most famous names, she occasionally does have to tell them what to do.
The people that you're the least likely to think are going to be professional and nice sometimes are the ones who surprise you, and it's the heavy metal guys. Poison, Ricky Rocket from Poison was one of the nicest people I've met over the years.
I like that they used the word eclectic.
There you go.
To describe you. It's very fitting.
It's very eclectic, just like all of those.
In a way, Lisa says she's always been Montreal's PR woman.
What I chose as a career chose me. I didn't realize it till I got into it and I started talking to people, and I realized that in high school I used to do things like the yearbook, the newspaper, the winter carnival.
It's a dream career she says her parents always encouraged.
I was lucky because my parents let me do what I wanted to do.
Yes.
And they were okay with that. 15-year-old Lisa would have never believed that I got to meet a lot of people whose music I adore and love and people I idolize.
She admits it's the chaos before the shows that makes all the memories worth it.
You're literally running, and then someone says, doors open in an hour, so now it's like, clear the road, clear everything, get the golf carts out of the way.
The Lisa Lee Group isn't just about flashy events and big names. It also works hard to give back to local charities, including the Welcome Hall Mission.
That's one thing I have to say that's been fun, is to get to do all these different things so that every day is not the same as the day before.
Looking back, Lisa says she has just one word to describe her life: lucky.
We got to see so much. We got to work with so many people behind the scenes and see things being created.
Lisa admits there may be some more life-saving careers out there, but says there's nothing more life-changing than an experience.
We're not saving lives. We're not brain surgeons, but we are kind of saving souls.
Rachel Lau, CTV News.
Time now for In Case You Missed It. Anyone who has seasonal allergies doesn't have to be told. Montreal is in the thick of allergy season, and it's a bad one. Experts are blaming climate change. Sweeta Rassi has more.
This year, the trees are blooming a little earlier than usual, according to David Weiss from McGill University.
So things that normally would have flowered, say, mid-May are now flowering early May. Things that flowered normally early May are now flowering in April, and so on.
He says the shift is due to climate change. Trees are releasing pollen sooner and for longer periods.
So potentially more pollen floating around in the air, and then that's what's triggering allergic reactions.
That means allergy season is in full swing. The biggest culprits, birch trees.
Most of the trees that are pollinated by wind, so birch trees, but also poplars, alders, ash, oak, maple, and so on.
1 in 5 Canadians suffer from seasonal allergies. Moshe Ben-Shoshan is from the Department of Pediatrics at McGill. He says there is something else at play: stronger pollen.
something genetically has changed also in the pollens to make them more allergenic. So that's the interesting fact. So even if the level is more or less the same or even a bit lower, it doesn't mean that we will have less allergic symptoms.
That's why he says if you suffer from seasonal allergies, you may need to start taking your meds sooner.
So birch, that is the spring, we usually start November, December. Grass, we start January, February for the summer. And ragweed, we start just now. So if somebody is suffering a lot during the fall, that's the time to see your allergist and decide whether you want to be more aggressive regarding the treatment.
For many, a harsh new reality after a harsh winter, as the allergy season is here for a while. Suidarasi, CTV News.
People are pouring through the UFO files that have been released by the Pentagon. And although many more files are to come, the Pentagon says there is no evidence of life beyond Earth. Christiane Cordero reports.
A trove of images showing decades of unidentified objects is sparking curiosity among starry-eyed enthusiasts. The Pentagon releasing photos, videos, and reports of some 400 unresolved UFO sightings from the past 80 years, including this infrared video from 2013 taken somewhere in the Middle East by the U.S. military. It appears to show a star-shaped object flying erratically and leaving a trail behind. And in this audio from 1965, astronaut Frank Borman can be heard documenting an unidentified object while aboard Gemini 7. NASA transcripts from 4 years later are also part of this release. Buzz Aldrin telling the government he saw a possible laser in space. And these images taken from the Apollo 17 mission in 1972 show strange lights observed in space from the moon. Every Apollo mission has reported similar lights.
There are these really cool snapshots of what it's like to be an astronaut, exploring new things for the first time, and then to see things that they at first couldn't explain.
The Pentagon says this is the first of what will be several declassified document dumps about the unidentified object sightings at the direction of President Trump. The president now touts complete and maximum transparency, writing it's up to the public to decide for themselves what the hell is going on.
These files released by the Pentagon do not give any solid evidence for life beyond Earth, or alien life in general. But that doesn't mean we aren't continuing the investigation and the search for life.
Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
Up next, a woman redefining how we think of dance. Alberta's privacy commissioner is investigating the leak of names, addresses, and phone numbers of nearly 3 million Albertans, including former Premier Jason Kenney. In an interview airing tomorrow on Question Period, Kenney says he believes he should pursue legal options. He added he's tired of being a punching bag for members of the separatist movement.
That group started basically as an anti-vax kind of convoy adjacent movement back in 2021. And there's some pretty highly caffeinated people there. And so I'm taking prudent security measures. But I'm also concerned for the 3 million people whose privacy has been breached here. Think about the vulnerable, women, victims of domestic violence whose perpetrators can now more easily find out where they're living and so forth.
The full interview with Kenney is on Question Period tomorrow at 11 a.m. on CTV News Channel. Well, with many people feeling anxious about cases of hantavirus being transmitted on a cruise ship, how is that affecting the cruise industry in Canada? Paul Hollingsworth spoke to travel experts and tourists to get their take.
The cruise ship industry is big business. It's a huge chunk of tourism in Nova Scotia.
It extends the season, it makes the visitation stronger.
350,000 passengers visit this port every year. But the deadly hantavirus outbreak on board the MV Hondius is so terrifying, some travelers will not be going for an ocean voyage anytime soon.
I wouldn't go on them.
Tourism operator Sean Buckland has not seen a drop-off in cruise ship passengers in the wake of the outbreak. He also has a basic message for all would-be travelers.
That we've taken every precaution necessary to make sure they have a safe experience with us.
That message comes at a time when the cruise schedule is getting busy, especially in this part of the country. More than 180 cruise ships will visit this region between now and November. December.
It's not the news that the industry wants at any time.
Dalhousie University professor and tourism analyst Lauren Sheehan says the onus is on cruise ship companies to maintain a high level of consumer confidence.
Trust that we're doing what we can to keep the experience as safe as possible, as we always do on our cruise ships.
Norman Yee has taken numerous cruises in the past and would feel safe doing it again. He says the COVID-19 pandemic serves as a reminder of what to do in these situations.
No, I don't necessarily wear a mask when I'm on the plane or I'm on a cruise ship, but I have them available. We clean our hands.
And stay prepared for all possible public health dangers as he plans his vacation travel schedule for the upcoming summer season. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Halifax.
A Saskatoon dancer is taking center stage and will be coming to Quebec this summer. As Carla Shinkaruk reports, she's proving that passion and perseverance can redefine what dance looks like.
From her first moves at just 3 years old, Sherry Turgeon found her rhythm and never missed a beat.
Yeah, I love what I'm able to do. It's a lot of fun. It's my main source of activity.
Her journey has taken her across Canada and even to New York City, proving dance is about individuality and standing out.
Yeah, a lot of people think that because you're disabled, you can't do dance or, you're meant to be in a care home or whatever. And I'm like, no, you can do whatever you put your mind to.
She performed at Telemiracle, film festivals, fashion runways to competition floors, challenging perceptions along the way. She recalls one memorable adjudication.
All you hear is the adjudicator just go, ah, when I went out on stage. And then by the end, she's like, I'm crying.
At the Dance World Cup, she didn't just show up, she showed off, taking home gold 3 times and making history as one of the only wheelchair dancers to qualify. And she qualified for Worlds again, heading to Quebec in July.
Oh, I'm thrilled for her. Sherry works so hard, and she is always at the studio.
Turgeon teaches here at this studio in Saskatoon, helping others with physical or other challenges find their groove.
She inspires kids who are watching her on stage and in class every day. That you can move and you can dance.
People are often curious when she dances, not just by the performance, but by the process behind it.
People just generally ask me, well, how do you do it? You're in a chair. And I said, you just adapt the movements.
For Turgeon, life isn't about sitting on the sidelines. It's about taking center stage and dancing to your own beat. Carla Shinkaruk, CTV News, Saskatoon.
The Canadians played arguably their best game of the playoffs last night in Buffalo. They scored 2 goals in the first 5 minutes and did not look back, scoring again in the second period. The Sabres managed to get in 1 goal at the end of the second period, but the Habs potted 2 more in the third for a 5-1 final. This is the first time in the playoffs that the Habs have managed to win a game with more than a 1-goal margin. Game 3 in the best-of-7 series is tomorrow at the Bell Centre. Tomorrow's also a must-win game for the Montreal Victoire. Playing in Minnesota last night, Montreal put the first goal in the net, but the Frost came back strong with 3 goals to win the game and to even up the series. The final game in the best-of-5 semifinals is Monday in Laval. And last night, the WNBA made its Canadian debut.
It's time! Let's meet your inaugural Toronto Tempo!
The Tempo hosted the Washington Mystics, and in the end, the Mystics won by 3 points. Coming up, an epic fundraiser comes to a close for the Montreal Children's Hospital. The Montreal Children's Hospital Foundation is celebrating a successful fundraising campaign. Sweet Arasi has more.
In a 7-year-long campaign, the Montreal Children's Hospital Foundation raised more than $370 million, nearly double its original goal of $200 million. Renée Vizina is the foundation's president.
Finding cures is what philanthropy does, and it's so very important.
Vizina says no hospital foundation in Quebec has ever done it bigger. Among those who helped make it happen was P.K. Subban. The former Habs player pledged to raise $10 million through his own foundation. The hospital calls it the largest philanthropic commitment ever made by a professional athlete in Canada. For Subban, this moment is more than just a milestone.
You know, tonight's a special moment for me. It's probably the greatest accomplishment of my life.
He says it started on Christmas Eve, giving gifts to children at the hospital along with his fellow players.
That's how I started to build that chemistry with the kids there and with the hospital. And I can tell you, those kids gave me power and strength that I could never imagine. So I'm very grateful for that. And all I wanted to do was return that favor.
The money raised will go towards pediatric care, research, and projects that go beyond the hospital's walls, such as mental health crisis centers for teens and a pediatric center in northern Quebec. Sweeta Rassi, CTV News.
Taking a final look at the forecast, it's currently 18 degrees in Montreal, and we could see scattered showers later this evening. Tomorrow, it's shaping up to be another beautiful day. We'll see a mix of sun and cloud with a high of 15 degrees expected. More sun and cloud in the forecast to kick off the coming week. Some wet weather expected Wednesday and Thursday. A high of 21 forecast for next Saturday. Well, that's it for us. We'll be back at 11:30. Have a good night, everyone. Take care.